Hello everyone, this is Michael here, and I'm one of the product managers at Syncfusion, and I oversee the development of the database controls like charts, gauges, maps, tree map, etc. I'm really excited today to present and showcase our new chart control for Flutter. So let's not waste much time and let's dive into the agenda. Today, I have planned to showcase our chart control for Flutter and create a new Flutter application with some real-time use case chart samples. These demos will provide you an overview of how easy it is to get started and use any complex charts into your application in no time. And also theoretically, I will explain what are all the features that are available in our Flutter charts. Here are the highlights of our Flutter charts. It is natively written in Dart and it now supports iOS and Android. It has a very good performance. Now it has more than 10 plus chart types and it is an early preview and it is still growing. And we have fluid animations. We have rich interactive features like tooltip, crosshair, trackball, zooming, and panning. All the APIs are well documented and you can get all these and you can see all these documents under our help.syncfusion.com. The supported platforms, as I said before, are Android and iOS. For Android, the device types that we support are phone and tablet. The supported version for Android is API level 16 and higher. For iOS, we support iPhone, iPod, and iPad, and the supported version is iOS 8 and higher. To run our Flutter charts, the minimum Flutter SDK version required is version 1.7.8. As I said before, our charts getting started documentation is available under help.syncfusion.com Flutter chart getting started. All the Flutter packages for chart is available in pub.dev, so you can download the packages from there as well. Okay, now let's dive into creating an application using our Flutter charts. First, I will show you how to get started with a simple chart as like I have shown here. And from there, we can enable all rich interactive features and see how intuitive the chart is. I'm using the Visual Studio Code. I'm using the Visual Studio Code to showcase the demo. Hope you have all installed and configured the Flutter in your machine. Once you have done that, open the VS Code and go to View and open the command palette. You can type in Flutter new project. Since I have installed the Flutter and Dart extension in Visual Studio, it will automatically gives me a Hello World program with minimal code in it. So I'm just going to create a Hello World program at first, and then I'm going to showcase the demo. So I just named the project as webinar demo, and I selected the folder where the project has to be placed. So all these packages are downloaded from the pub.dev. So it automatically generates all the code for you. So it is very easy for you, and you can just sit back and relax. So as you can see, it is creating for Android, iOS, and all the library files and all the test files, and everything will be generated at once. So it's all done. Still the project is compiling and it has to analyze first. So it is just happening there. So in Flutter, everything is a widget. So it is a composition of UI widgets. So anything can be rendered with composition of small widgets to combine and form a whole new widget. So there you go. We have the project ready. And as I said, it is a small Hello World program. What this program basically does is it has a widget called the widget which returns the material app. Inside that you have a home page. That home page has all the widgets in it. Like for example here, the home page has a app bar, and the app bar has a title, and inside that we have a body. Inside that we have a child. So the child holds a column. So as I said, it is a composition of widgets. So the column is a layout widget. It takes list of children. So you can add any number of list and it will arrange them vertically. So inside this column, they have provided children, which is a collection of widgets. It has two texts in it, and we have a floating button inside it. So So basically what it does is, whenever you click on that floating button, it will automatically display how many times you have clicked on a button. Still, the extension is loading. So as I said before, our package is available in pub.spec in pub.dev. So what we need to do now is we have to add our dependencies first. So I'm just going to add our Flutter dependencies. It is Syncfusion underscore Flutter underscore charts, and it is version now. It is in beta. So I'm just going to add this, and I'm just going to save this file. So once I save this file, it will automatically get the packages from the pub.dev. So as you can see here, the Flutter packages are getting downloaded. So the Flutter package is downloaded now. So now you can move on to the main.dot file, and you can import our chart package. So I'm just going to import. So Syncfusion chart package has been imported here. So what I'm going to basically do is, first let me run this so that you can see what we have at our hand. So to add a chart, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to add the chart inside these widgets. I'm just going to comment out these texts. So, and I'm also going to comment out the floating action button. And inside the children, I'm going to add a container. So container is a widget which holds any UI element, any other UI widget. So it helps to provide the height of the widget. So I'm going to give height as 550, and I can add any child into it. So the child I'm going to add is SF Cartesian chart. So I have just added the Cartesian chart here. So for populating a chart, we might need the data source. So I'm just going to create a simple class called sales data, which has two variables of type double, X and Y. And inside I'm just going to have an constructor here, which initializes these two variables. So once this is done, I'm just going to create a data source. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a method here. I'm just going to show a column series. So I'm just creating a column data. So the the data source is of type list. So now I'm going to have a list called sales data. So inside this sales data, I'm just going to initialize it. I'm just giving two double values. So I'm just going to provide this data into the data source. So it is taking much time than expected. So there you go. You have a Cartesian chart here. Inside the Cartesian chart, you have to add series type column chart. So a series is nothing but a collection of column chart. So collection of chart series. So inside that, I'm going to add a column chart. So column series, and I have to provide the data source for. I have to provide the data source type. So it is a sales data, and I have to provide the type. It is double, and inside that, I have to provide inside that I have to provide the data source. So the data source is nothing but get column data, and I have to map x and y values from the data source. So that is a x value mapper, and there is a y value mapper. So I'm mapping the x and y there. So there you go. This is the output that I have that I want to show. This is the first example that we had. Now I have removed all these text and all these buttons. So I have added the chart with the data source. Uh, Let me show what will happen when I just initialize the chart alone. So I'm just removing the series. Since Flutter has hot reload, whenever you write a code and save it, it will automatically sync the application. So you need not relaunch the application then and there. So there you go. So now you can see that the chart has been rendered. So initializing a Cartesian chart will render the a simple chart with X and Y axis. So now I'm going to add the code for series. As I said, I am adding a series of chart type column series. So I have getting the data from the column method, and I'm just adding it here. So let me save this, and you can see a column series. I'm sorry, I forgot to send the data here. So there you go. So now we've got a column chart. So now let us see how to enable a data label. So you can enable a data label for a chart series. So I'm going to enable a data label using data label settings. So I'm just setting is visible as true, and I'm just going to save it. There you go. You can now have a data label. You can set the data label position as well. I'm just going to set the position. So I'm just going to set the position to middle. So I'm going to save it. You can see that the data label position has been middle, and it is now showing in the middle of a column segment. And you can see that I didn't set any color for the label, but it automatically changes based on the contrast of the contrast background. So this is a smart feature that we have. So let me show you how to add a tooltip now. So inside a chart, I can add a tooltip. So I'm going to add a tooltip behavior for that. I'm going to enable the tooltip. So basically when I enable the tooltip, I'm just going to save it. When I tap on the column, you can see that it has series of 0 and it shows the X and Y value. So I can change all these things. For example, if I want to activate the tooltip only during long press, then that is possible. You have activation mode, and activation mode is long press, and I'm just going to save that. There you go. Now I'm pressing for long enough, and then the tooltip appears. So if you want to change the if you want to change certain things, like if you want to add axis title, if you want to add chart title, then that is also possible. So now we have a simple chart. Now let's make it as a meaningful chart. So I'm going to check title. So title is of type chart title, and inside that I'm going to provide a text. So I'm just saving it. You can see the title immediately, and I'm going to add title for the axis as well. Since we have given double for X and Y, I'm going to add a numeric axis. So first I'm going to have primary X axis, which is of type numeric. So numeric axis, and inside the numeric axis, I'm going to provide a title. This is of type axis title. And I'm just going to provide a text. So in the X axis, I'm just going to provide the product ID. And in primary Y axis is also of type numeric axis. And inside that, I'm going to provide a title, which is of type axis title. Sales in millions. So I'm just going to save it. So there you go. Now you got the axis title as product ID, and you got the sales in millions. But still, if you want to represent the millions in meaningful form in the y-axis, then you can manipulate the axis label as well. So to manipulate the axis label, you have to set label format. So label format is of type string, and we can set the value, and I'm just going to space and provide an M there. So what will happen is we will automatically have M appended to the suffix. So now you have 35M, so it represents 30 million. So basically all these things are possible now. Let me show how to add a legend. Legend is of type legend. So go true. Now you can see that legend is appearing here. When you click on a legend, the series will hide and collapse. So this is possible with the legend. So if you want to change the series name, then that is also possible. All you have to do is you have to go to the series and you have to set the name for the series. So it is a product ABC. So I'm just going to save it. There you go. Now the legend has product ABC, and also when I'm long pressing on a chart series, the series type, series name has changed. So these are the things that are possible with chart. And if you want to change the legend icons, that is also possible. So we have legend icon type. So legend icon type of, I'm just going to change it as diamond and just saving it. So there you go. It has been changed to diamond. So these things are possible with all the Cartesian charts, all the Cartesian legends, and all these things are possible. So now what I'm going to do is let me show you let me show how to add a huge collection of data here. So I'm just going to create another method, get huge data. What I'm basically going to do here is I'm just going to create a random data. So as uh, so we have a list of sales data. So I'm going to create a double value. Uh, just because I'm creating a random, so I'm just going to create a random value as well. So I'm just going to add 1,000 data to it. So I'm just iterating using in for loop. So inside that, I'm going to check. So I'm just going to add these things. So there you go. I have just going to add the values here into the huge data. So there you go. Now we have to return that huge data. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to change this into line series. Line series also takes the sales data and it is of type double, so nothing changes there. And it also maps the X and Y, so nothing changes there. I'm just going to change the data source here. So the data source is the get huge data. So I'm just going to save this. So there you go. You can see now we have more than 1,000 data. But as you can see here, since I have enabled the data label settings here, the data labels are clustered here. So this is not a real use case, since data label is only used for little number of data. So if you have huge data, you can enable crosshair or trackball. So I'm just going to comment it out. So there you go. Now let me show you how to enable crosshair or trackball. So crosshair is basically you can see crosshair is nothing but you can check what value that is available in the axis. If you click on any part of the chart, you can see what type of value is in the x and y axis. I have just enabled the crosshair, so I'm just going to tap it. I'm just going to tap here. I'm just going to, since I have that in, I'm going to choose the activation mode as long press. So there you go. This is a crosshair. Now you can see what values are here. So if you want to precisely see what are the values in the series, then that is possible. Crosshair is basically for seeing any value representing the axis. Uh, but trackball is used for seeing all these things in action with the series. So I'm just going to comment out the crosshair here, and I'm going to add the trackball. So trackball is nothing but a subtype trackball behavior. So I'm just going to enable it to true. So I'm just saving it. So this is a trackball. Now you can see that each and every point in the series can be seen using the trackball. It basically aligns with the vertical line, and you can see each and every data inside it. So when you are having so much data, you will always, as I said, you can also have activation mode. So activation mode is nothing but, for example, if you are enabling the tooltip and trackball, you can choose which action to perform at what rate. So if you want the activation mode to be pressed in single tap, then that is also possible. So that is the reason we have the activation mode here. So as I said, if there is so much data, then seeing these data is quite challenging. So we can now zoom the chart. So we have the zoom pan behavior. So I'm going to enable double tap zooming, and I'm also going to enable panning. So let's save this. So there you go. I'm just going to double tap at this point. So it is zooming now. So if you want to pan, then that is also possible. So you can pan and across X and Y axis. If you want to limit the panning action for X alone, then that is also possible. So you can set the zoom mode as XY. Basically, the panning goes for X and Y. And if you set the zoom mode as X, then it will horizontal. You can pan and zoom only on horizontal scale. If you set zoom mode as Y, then you can as pan and zoom only on the vertical. So now I can pan only horizontally and not vertically. So this is one cool feature that we have. And let me show how we can easily update the chart, how fast the chart renders, and how easily we can update dynamically. So what I'm going to do here is create another method for dynamic data. So for that to happen, once again I need a list. I'm just initializing a list globally here. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to initialize some values. basically what I did before. So I'm just going to just copy paste this to save time. So now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to check a condition. I'm just going to first add the values to the dynamic data. So I'm just adding the data. What I'm going to do is I'm going to call this get dynamic data every 20 milliseconds so that the dynamic data gets populated. And I also do not want to populate all the time. I just want to populate only 50 times. So I'm just going to check if j is greater than 50. I'm just going to remove the first item from here. So there you go. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to create a timer and I'm going to call this get dynamic data there. I'm just going to create the duration as microseconds 20 and so inside the timer, this particular method will automatically calls every 20 milliseconds. So inside that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to call set state. Set state is used to set state is the method that tells the UI that there is going to be a refreshing UI available. So whenever the set state is called, the UI will be refreshed. So that is the reason I'm calling set state. Inside that, I'm going to call get dynamic data. So now what I'm going to do is instead of calling a method for the data source, I'm just going to give the data source directly, the list directly, that is the dynamic data. And I'm just going to change it to spline series just to showcase the other series available. So I'm going to save it. So there you go. It is dynamically updating every 20 milliseconds. And after 50 data, it will automatically remove the first data and it will automatically update. So there you go. This is the dynamic update that we have. So let me stop the timer now and let me show you how to add other data like, for example, string. Once again, what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to create a class, simple class, car sales. This also contains two variables. One is of type string and another is of type double. And once again, I'm going to create a simple constructor that initializes these values. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create another method called string to get the string data. So I'm just copy pasting the code for time save. So I'm just going to change this into car sales. Since it is a string, I have to give the string values like so there you go. I'm just adding a string data here. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to change the numeric primary x-axis into category axis. So category axis, and I'm going to change the text as cars, and what I'm going to do here is I'm going to change it as column series. Let me show it as bar series. So since uh, so that will be, you can see all the series that are available with this. So inside the bar series, it is of type car sales, and it is of type string, and the data source and the data source I have to provide here is get string data, and here I have to give car sales. So I'm just going to save it. So there you go. Now you can see the title has been changed to cars, and you have the car names available here. So this is one type. For example, if I want to see, I have enabled the trackball, but the trackball is since I said it shows a vertical line by default. If I want a horizontal line, then I can change the line as well. So I can go to the trackball here and set the line type as horizontal, and I can set the line color as well. So everything in the chart is customizable. I'm just going to save it. So there you go. Now you see. Okay. So as I said, we have the Cartesian charts and circular charts. Cartesian charts are nothing but the charts that have X and Y axis. The circular charts are nothing but the accumulation charts like pi and doughnut. Now let me show how to add pi and doughnut series to the chart. So I'm just going to delete this. So instead of SF Cartesian chart, I'm going to add SF circular chart. So inside the circular chart, uh, I have to add a pi series. So I have to define the series as pi. So this is you have to explicitly define the pi series here. So the pi series is also of type, is also using the car sales. And it is of type string. And inside that, I'm going to set the data source. It's nothing but get string data and X value mapper as car sales. So sales dot X and Y value mapper as car sales. So I'm just going to save it. So there you go. You got a pie series. Uh, Now let us customize this series as well. So I'm just going to set the title. So it is of type chart title. And I want to show you a data label as well. So I'm just going to set the data label. So there you go. Now you can see based on the contrast, the data label color also changes and the data label has been placed here. Let me enable a legend for it. So I'm just revising everything what we done before, but for the circular charts. So you can click on any chart and that will be collapsed. And as I said, we have fluid animations for all these things. And if you want to show the data labels outside the chart, that is outside the chart, that is also possible. You have to set label position as outside, and you can set the label intersect action. For example, if the label intersects, what we have to do, you can hide or none. I'm going to set it as none so that it will show everything. So there you go. You have all the data labels available. If you want to render a pi series, semi-pi series, then that is also possible. You have the start angle and end angle. I'm just going to provide it as 0 and end angle is 180. So this just renders a semi-pi with all the values in it. So if you want to change that, then let me show it as well. So there you go. Likewise, you can also have a donut series. So I'm just going to save it. So there you go. You got the donut series here. I'm just going to comment out the start angle and end angle so that you can see the full donut here. You can set the inner radius value as well. And so there you go. You can do all these things which I have done here. You can, if you want to enable a tooltip, then you can enable the tooltip. So there you go, guys. Uh, you can now see how easy it is to customize these Flutter charts. We have each and every API available for all the elements that are available in the chart. You can customize all the available elements in chart using all the APIs. And as I have shown here, it is very easy to add any collection of data. I can dynamically update. You can add huge number of data, and all these things are possible. Hope you guys like this sneak peek of what we have today with the Flutter charts. So thank you for being with us.